52 years of marriage. That's how long my parents have been together, and they have what I would describe as a really healthy relationship. So today I have a special guest coming on the podcast. It is my dad, and you may have seen him on my Instagram stories. He does look like Huey from Huey's Cooking. But yes, Huey is not my dad, but my dad does look like him. We are very similar. We're very outgoing, very loud, and he can't wait. He can't wait to get on the mic. So I thought, why not? And I'll drive home from the airport. Sorry, drive to the airport. Let's record a podcast because I did this in the past and you absolutely loved it. Welcome to the What's Eating You podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, and I'm a psychologist, published author, and public speaker here to educate and validate. Enjoy the show. So, welcome back to the What's Eating You podcast, where we share mental health topics. But today we're taking a little twist to talk about family. And me and Dad were speaking about this in the kitchen and how he met my mum and how things are so different back in the day. And I know relationships can be so tricky to manage in this day and age. So I'm curious to know how it has changed. In this episode, we will cover my dad's story, how he met my mum, how to keep the spark alive, and just some general wise life advice because my dad just turned 74. My God. So he's got some wisdom to share with us. Welcome to the show, Andrew Giorgio.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be with you again.
We are excited to have you. So maybe take us back, Dad. How did you meet Mum and get together?
Okay, now I have to take you back to London because that's where we immigrated when we were age of 12, both of us. It would have been when I met your mom, 1969. I was 18 and finishing high school. I was in the last year of high school. Mom was doing her hairdressing apprenticeship. I never knew, but I knew her brother because with her brother we were in the same class, third year in high school, and we got very well. We were very good friends. And the way I met your mom was one day we went to his house to study maths. And while I was there, I saw your mom and I thought, wow, what a beautiful girl. I thought she was English because she had blonde hair and she was fair and white skin, and I was dark. And I remember in those days, I was a spotty little kid. I had acne, and I used to, I don't know how I did it, but I bought online, not online. It must have been online. I don't know. We never used to have online, but somehow I remember I bought this ultraviolet lamp that I would sit in front of in the evening and put these goggles. Man, I'm surprised I still didn't get any cancer because every night I sit in front of the ultraviolet so that it was meant to help with your spots. And in the morning, Mum would wake up and she'd say, I was as dark as an Indian. I can't say that, but I was very dark. I was like Asian. I don't know if I can say that.
It's okay. What Dad's saying is basically he was very tanned in his skin that he looked like another ethnicity.
And my mum couldn't figure out how the next morning she'd wake up and I was one shade darker. And she would ask me, what's happened to you? What's wrong with you? But anyway, I had the story. I never thought that Mum would like me because, like I said, I was a spotty little kid, and she thought I was Indian when she first set eyes on me.
She didn't know that you were Greek as well.
No, and I remember her first words to her brother. She told me later on, "Who's your Indian friend?" She'd say. And
did she like you that you're aware of? Oh, we need to take a petrol break. So we're just pulling into the petrol station, going to take a petrol break. I will take it over from here until Dad gets back. But basically, I've been in Melbourne for a gala. So basically, one of my good friends is a finalist in Miss Universe. And it's all about charity and donating to charity. She threw this incredible gala and it was amazing. I was really happy with how her night turned out. Super proud of her. She put so much effort into it. And one thing I was proud of was just my organization leading up to the event. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, I did struggle with an eating disorder growing up, and I'm way past that now. And now I help women overcome bulimia, binge eating, all the eating disorders, all the bad relationships with food. And one of the things I struggled with was shopping for clothes when I went through my challenges, especially big events. And I would leave it to the last minute. I wouldn't buy an outfit. I would freak out. I'd get something last minute and it just didn't fit. It didn't feel well. And it would just perpetuate this vicious anxiety and cycle of going to social events and not having anything to wear. And then I thought it was me. I'm just like, I don't suit clothes. It's me. But what I realized is people prepare months in advance for these things. They prepare. When I would tell people, I need the dress for next week, they're like, what? There was people in the store getting dresses for June and it was March. So I thought, no. We're going to be organized and you're going to look great, Steph. You've got this. So I actually went to a store on the Gold Coast. It was called Dressed by Jazz and she had the most stunning dresses. And I got this gorgeous Albina Dyla dress. I didn't even know what the brand was. Apparently it's a real nice fancy brand. And it was this cobalt blue color and it looked absolutely beautiful. It was a stunning dress. I felt like a princess. And I booked my makeup in and my sister did my hair. So it all came together and I just received the loveliest compliments on my dress. And that's what I'm here to share is that if you're someone who stresses over what you're going to wear, how you're going to look, if you've got a big event coming up, don't leave it to the last minute. Don't do what I used to do because it only just exacerbates your anxiety, which exacerbates your stress, which puts you in fight or flight, which then you need a physical strategy to come down from. And that's why a lot of people struggle with eating because they use binge eating or emotional eating to deal with that stress and anxiety that it causes. This is your reminder to get organized for an event. You deserve to feel beautiful at any weight, shape, and size. Welcome back, Andrew Giorgio. Thank you for putting petrol in the car. We are on our way to the airport. Now, we were talking about how Dad met Mum through her brother. They were friends at school. Dad had a solarium bed. He tried to use it.
Oh, just the lamp.
Oh, just a lamp. But that's the thing now. People use these facial machines where they're actually putting their face under this ultraviolet light. It's actually a thing now. But anyways, take us back to the story of how did you actually get on your first date with Mum?
I used to work after school and on the weekends in a little shoe repair shop. That's how I learned the trade over the years and I became a super duper fast repairer. But Mum had a car and I had a little car, which I saved from working 147 pounds it cost me. That's like $250. It was a 3-year-old car. And Mum got a flat tire, I remember, and she asked if I knew how to change a tire. In those days, our generation, what do they call us? What's our generation?
Are you boomer?
I'm a
Is it boomers?
1950s.
1950s.
Yeah, so we are boomers. Well, we boomers knew how to change tires and do basic things like fine tune our cars and the carburetors and stuff like that. So when Mum asked if I could help change her tire because she was stuck at home, I drove quickly from my work during my lunchtime and changed the tire. And so proud of myself because I helped out. Their Mum's all in distress and she offered to give me some money for the help. I said, no. What do you want? She said, and I said, a kiss. And I was more shy than her. So she gave me a little kiss, nothing fancy, just a little kiss. And of course, that started I knew that she liked me by that. And we went a couple of times to the cinema. And actually, the funny thing is, I was mad on fishing. I loved fishing. So, of course, I thought she would enjoy it just as much. So I would take her fishing on the weekend. She hated it. She absolutely hated it, but she never said anything. She just stood there And then she wanted to talk about something, and I said, "Shh, you're going to scare the fish." And I wouldn't let her talk. But that later on, she confided in me that she hated with passion going fishing. And I never knew that. And I'm surprised she stayed with me. And, yeah. And then later on, after a few months, at that time, people were introduced when it was the time for, getting to know and getting married. It was by introduction, by
Arranged marriage?
arranged, yeah. Especially for people who lived, and even back home overseas, someone, and someone has a daughter, someone has a son. They're all of the age where they should be looking for a partner. And she used to say to me, "Oh, I've got proxy this weekend." Proxy is the name Proxenia, which is what they use for this introduction, shall we say. "I've got so-and-so coming," and I would be sleepless at night in case she would, that person and that person, because my spots didn't clear that, but I was still red and dark, and they were getting better, but I was worried she would find somebody that was better looking than me, and I would be worried. And then I asked my parents to go and ask, because that was the way things were done. The parents of one person, boy or a girl, usually the boy, would go to the visit, as call it, a special visit, to introduce themselves and to ask for permission, show that their son wants to, be with their daughter and go out and get engaged or whatever it was. And that's how, I nagged my mum and dad into, even though I was still at school last year. So that's how we did it. And then we got engaged.
It's like My Big Fat Greek Wedding when she wants to marry the white guy who wasn't Greek, and then they brought all these random Greek men over.
Bit like that, yeah. And I remember.
So did her parents approve of you?
Look, at the beginning, like all parents, they want to know that whoever wants to be with their daughter, marry their daughter, that they can support her, obviously. And I was still, like I said, I was at school. Even though I was hardworking, after school every night, I would go and work in the little shop and on weekends. And I managed to save enough money to buy a little car. I was always a go-getter. I was never lazy. I would travel by bus, train on a weekend, hour and a half on that bus and train just to go and work and earn. It was £3.50. That's about $7. Yeah. I was a hardworking boy, even from a young age. They were concerned. And I remember her dad, again, she confided in me later on. She did ask one of the family friend and a teacher and told him the situation, that this young man, he wants to get engaged to my daughter, but he's still at school. And he knew me because he used to give us maths lessons to the whole group of us. And he said to him, "Andy, you don't have to fear about him because he's a go-getter. Whatever he does, he will find a way to support your daughter." And that was the words that sort of turned it. And my father-in-law agreed, and we got engaged. We got married, saved up, put a deposit, bought a house. And I remember in those days, the mortgage repayment was £100. That's $200 a month. And I remember thinking, gee, how am I going to, if I don't make it? But managed to repay the house in 10 years.
Well done. That's so incredible. And that's so true about you. You really do go for what you want. And I think I got those qualities off you as well. So thank you for passing that on to me. What about marriage? Everyone talks about marriage is hard and it takes a lot of work. Do you think that's true? Or do you think it's because now in a society there is so much stress? Women have to work, inflation, the cost of living. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with you. In the old days, the man was the breadwinner. The wife was at home looking after the house, after the children, etc. But in our case, Mum had by then learned the hairdressing profession. And even with her, the opportunity came where her boss wanted to sell her little shop because she was going to start a family. We decided to buy it from her. And so she bought her shop. I opened my own shop with my brother-in-law, and we were both saving a little bit every week. It was exciting. It was fun. We were in our 20s, 20, 21, and we were fine, even though we had no business experience or whatever. We knew our trade, and we were doing well. And it was a good marriage. Look, we had our ups and downs, and we lost our first child. We went through periods of sadness and stuff like that. But with us, I'm an easygoing person. I get on with everybody. I don't like to fight, and I like to find a way around things. So over the years, we give and take, and we get on. And then we still love each other. After all these years, we show how much we love each other. We would go out, go on trips, spend time together, small little things, make each other breakfast in the morning, tea, whatever, go out and enjoy last autumn years, as I say.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It sounds like it's the small things, day to day, doing things for one another, keeping that spark alive, looking after each other.
You have to be very diplomatic. Sometimes you might not agree on something. And I found that the way to do it is agree, but you can disagree, but you have to be diplomatic and put it in a way that, like politicians, so that it doesn't come out that you're looking for a fight. That's the way I found, not only with our relationship, but with friends as well. So you'd find most of my friends who, as Steph, it was my 74th birthday, and you arranged that beautiful video, and everybody sent messages and stuff. You saw what they spoke of me and what they thought of me.
Yes, and they had nice things to say about you. And I agree. I think the best skill you can have, which is something you have, Dad, and my partner also has, is just the ability to listen and not interrupt and actually think about what the other person is saying, even if you disagree. If you're in a dispute with someone or disagree, actually taking a step back and saying, is there a kernel of truth in what they're saying, and being open to that feedback and learning. And that is really hard to do.
That's right. I remember reading a book when I was young. I always used to read when I was young, and it was by a person who wrote 2 or 3 books, but this is one of the best-selling books of all times, and it was called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, that's a well-known book.
Yes, and I remember reading it and rereading it, and some of the things have stayed with me. And one of the things that I do remember after all these years is that you can never win an argument because, and it explained, say you're sitting with a friend and there is a thing about so-and-so happening, or it was so-and-so who did this in conversation, and the other person is adamant, no, this was in such and such a year, or it was so-and-so who did this. And even if you know for a fact that is not true, there is no way you can win the argument, because if you go on to argue the point and prove the other person wrong, then you will lose the friendship because you have put down that person in front of say you're sitting at a table with, so you will lose that. If you, on the other hand, just agree to disagree, or even just not say, oh, you are definitely wrong, no, and just to make the point and prove him wrong, you are losing the friendship of that person. So you will never win an argument. So the best thing is to avoid the argument.
Wow, I think that's really important. And it reminds me, I was having a group coaching call yesterday, and we were talking about this and about mother-in-laws and people who maybe just want to pick on something or they get upset if you're late, etc. And you know what? When you're really secure in who you are as a person, you don't feel the need to argue. You don't feel the need to be defensive. You don't feel the need to always be right. And one of the words of wisdom I gave to a woman in my group is, you know what? When your mother-in-law is saying, oh, perhaps you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, instead of trying to defend yourself and explain yourself, say, you might be right.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And that diffuses it quickly. Like if someone's, oh, you know what? You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't eat that. Say, you might be right. And that's it. Just diffuse it and say, you're right. People love to be told they're right. And I know you might be thinking, oh, that's not right. And da 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 da. When you are secure in yourself as a person, what other people think and feel about you won't distress you or cause you anxiety because you're happy and you don't need to change yourself to not be happy. So in summary, the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is a good one.
In my bookshelf, I always believe in that book. I should give it to you when you next come down.
Yes, I've been meaning to read it. I will. I've been reading a book. It's similar. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but it's similar and it talks about body language and building rapport and all that stuff. And yeah, it's all very valuable lessons. Any other books that have changed your life or you'd recommend?
I remember when I was going back to my 16, 15, the other one was, now just go back and you young people, you wouldn't experience this. But in those days, we had black and white television, color television was just coming in. We had no mobile phones. We had no social media. So magazines would be the only way that you could find things on the back of magazines. The companies would advertise their products, whether it was X-ray glasses. I always wanted to get those X-ray glasses because it showed that if you put these glasses on, then you can see underneath the garments. And I thought, what? But that was obviously,
Wait, are you talking about naughty magazines?
No, it's just normal magazines. But these scammers, as you say, would advertise things that were not really impossible. If you order it and they send it to you, you'll feel such a fool that they don't know, not really X-ray, and that you can see the bones of somebody. Okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I remember when I came across things, have a body with all these muscles and all that. And it was Charles Atlas. Charles Atlas was a body builder. They used to enter competitions and stuff. And so I thought I subscribed, and I believe it was something like £5 or whatever. And every week he would send a page of how to and do these exercises where you don't use weights or gadgets, but I forget what it was called, but you use your own, so you push against, you clench one fist and the other one, and you do that, and you hold this position, and this would happen, and you build. And then next week, I'm going to show you how the secret food that is going to build you muscles, and I couldn't wait to get the next week's leaflet. But when I got it, it was a bit of a letdown because I still remember it. Drink milk. He said, look how big the cows are and strong. So I started drinking milk. Mum couldn't figure out what was happening to the milk in the fridge.
What the heck? And cows don't even drink milk, do they? Cows drink water and eat grass.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, after a while, I did build a little bit of body muscles, nothing too, because it's completely different to doing the weights and stuff. But I remember that was probably my first thing that I ever bought for myself, apart from that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love the marketing. Drink milk because cows are big. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much for this episode. It's been amazing speaking to you and just hearing your story. I can't wait till we do so much more, and we'll probably have to do part 2 because there's just so much to cover and we just got to the airport. But thank you for being on the show, Dad. Any parting words for the listeners?
Yes. Any parting words? What can I say? Look, live and be happy. Just look at the big picture in your life. Small things come and go, and it's just a noise along the path of life.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating below. Just click the stars, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I am truly grateful for you being here. If you got something out of today's show, please take a moment to leave a rating or review. To access more resources or support, check out the show notes below. See you next time.